Everybody can hear me clear? Yeah? All right, lovely. Kalimera, hello, bonjour. So I'm saying hello in French because I'm French. So I have already to apologize about my bad accent, but I will do my best to be understandable by everybody, all right? My role today is to explain you what kind of way you may have in order to test your links if you want to introduce new critical application on an older cabling base. I can already thank you, Signore Sforte, by explaining what can be the future for us with the augmented reality. And as he said also, we will have a bright future with a lot of interesting, profitable activities and also cool things which will touch our life. But in the meantime, everything will be related to the quality and the capability of the cabling infrastructure to support those data rates. Okay, so now I will effectively try to explain you how is the best way to qualify the data rate on an old cabling system. Are you sure it's work? Okay, all right. So as a short introduction, I want to introduce my company. So Softing is a medium-sized German company, all right? And we are approximately 400 people. We are in a public share in Germany. We are making around 85 million euro a year. And we have three main divisions. The first one is the automation division. The second one is the industrial division. The third one is the IT networks division, all right? And this company is really focused on test and measurement since 1979, all right? And we are developing or also partnering with interesting, let's say, software editor in order to provide the best solution on the physical test level from the copper, fiber, or the Wi-Fi part. Okay. Where we are, so we are effectively an international based company. We have offices in US, we have R&D in Europe, in Asia, mainly at Singapore, and we have several branch offices. So we are dealing with specific, let's say, contractors or value-added partner in order to, let's say, address all the market needs everywhere we can. Now the demand and speed, and this is what can be an issue if you have to deploy new technology on an older cabling system. What I mean by that is the demand and speed is drastically impacted by the Wi-Fi and the wireless industry. Behind me you can see some statistic and market study where effectively we already, let's say, talk about having a data rate capability bigger than 1 gigabit. Okay? Considering that most of the cabling systems worldwide are still Cat5e or Cat6, what is the limitation of those cabling systems? Any idea? Please try to interact fast with me because I only have 20 minutes. So if anyone has an idea, there is no mistake or no bad answer. But most of the time, let's say the legacy cabling we can find in the building are limited by nature. It's a short summary, but at 1 gigabit per second. Okay, but as you can see behind my back, there is a lot of new protocols who are providing much more than 1 gig. So when you have effectively to implement Wi-Fi or wireless technology, but it also impacts a lot of different things, you have some bottlenecks. The bottlenecks number one is the active equipment. For sure you will have to change it, but it's easy to replace somehow. The most impactful is effectively the cabling. The cabling is less easy to replace. I invite everybody to consider to implement the latest technology, which can be Cat6a, for example, inside a building. But when you have a job to do, but you don't have the budget yet to change your cabling, you have to take a decision. Okay? So a lot of experts and active equipment manufacturers has worked on a specific, let's say, project in order to support also the trend of, let's say, the demand in speed. And most of the people today are, let's say, using more and more and more data, meaning that there is an impact at the end of the day on the cabling part. what we can see here is effectively some, let's say, increase on the number of cells who are sold per year. And as you can see, we have more and more and more 1 gigabit, which start to decline, but more 2.5, 5, and 10 gig. 40 gigabit Ethernet mainly for the data center at present time, and maybe 25 will come sooner or later. And the 25, 50, and 100 gigabyte for sure will take place in the first instant in the data center, but will surely, but lately, will arrive also in the office. Now, what you have also to consider is to use some PoE application. So I mean by that when you want to install, for example, a new access point, okay, and you want to use the PoE on the link which has been installed in, let's say, 1980 or even 2000. PoE was not so strong. PoE was not implemented as we can find today. And as you can see, there is a lot and a big explosion of PoE ports and PoE application because people now can effectively put current on an AP without pulling another high power cable. Okay, so it's a real benefit. That's why a lot of companies are implementing and using that technology on a daily basis. Hello. So sorry, it's a short. Now, for sure, you will never implement those new technology on all your different links. Okay, you will have some links who will be impacted, but less you will be able to let them work on a regular way because, let's say, transferring an Excel file, a Word document, or sometimes a PowerPoint, 1 gigabit is enough. Okay, but for having some, let's say, real-time application like voice over Wi-Fi, like voice over IP, like video over IP, and so on, you need to have effectively a strongest quality of transmission, and there is several ways to test it. Also, so access point is impacted, server are impacted also, and the storage. So on a regular architecture, you will have effectively links you can leave and let like they are, but you have other that you will have to investigate about their capability to support the data rate. Okay. Now, a few minutes ago, I was starting to say that effectively some people coming from the active equipment industry, I'm talking about Cisco, I'm talking about Intel, I'm talking about different vendors like Broadcom and so on, they have developed a technology which is the N-based T. N-based T can be a first answer you can have in order to implement newest data rate on all cabling link. Okay, and in 2016, effectively, the IEEE 802.3BZ, all right. So sorry, in my life there is a lot of acronyms and codes. They found a way to effectively implement 2.5 gigabit over Cat5, and mainly Cat5e, sorry, and 5 gigabit over Cat6. Remember that by definition, those two standards and protocols were only capable to support 1 gig. So now we have optimized the coding, we have optimized the way of transmitting, and we are capable to reuse and transmit 2.5, 5 times more than we use that we supposed to do in the past. Okay. Now you will not be able to make it on all your links. There is some combination because for sure your cabling has take some ages, it has taken some hertz, it has taken some different variation due to the temperature, humidity, and so on. Okay, so you will have to requalify before installing a new active equipment. The best things to do in order to not buy something who will not run properly is to test the link in advance. All right. So how you can be sure that effectively your old links will be able to support those new data rates. Okay, and here are the different questions we are effectively taking into account before buying this kind of equipment. How to be sure? The best way is effectively the certification. Okay, certification is effectively a way to track, test, and certify. So we give a real proof that effectively all the electrical parameters are, let's say, in line with what are the standard definition. Here we are talking mainly about the ISO standard, the CENELEC, or the TIA. Just for your memory, TIA is more an American standard, while ISO and CENEC are more, let's say, European one. Testing against effectively those standards, so the TSB 5012 or the ISO 11801 9904, is the must. Now, this is effectively a process which is not enough on the real life. Why? Because the install base is mainly UTP cable type. And we know that UTP cable type, which is a solution which is working well, but they can be effectively more impacted by some interference in between different cables. Okay? And I'm talking about Alien crosstalk. We know that when we are, let's say, having a frequency higher than, let's say, 500 megahertz or even below, we can have some interference from a short link close to a longer one. Okay? And it exists some process to certify that effectively the link victim will not affect or will not be affected when making a transmission. Okay? But this is additional test to run into the field. How to be sure effectively the recertification should have to take into account the alien crosstalk and the alien signals to noise ratio. Here you can see that the theory. If you want to be sure that the link you want to run, a certain data rate, is not impacted by the other one, you can see, where is the pointer? Okay, thank you. So you can see here, something else. However, okay, perfect. So you can see here that you have effectively to run 6 tests around one, just for one cable. So imagine in a patch panel where you have a certain type of bundles and link dedicated to this new data rate, how many times you have to test? Okay. How many also new tester, because it's only the newest technology which are capable to effectively make the alien crosstalk testing, and also the ALSNR, which is a bit more easy to say, and it will take much more longer than you can expect. Okay, recertification also is by far really accurate, and sometimes we are giving some values which are not really impactful for the data transmission, but if they are wrong, they are wrong. So imagine here you have effectively to test all the different bundle combination. Can you imagine how long it can take for you? All right. Now, our proposal as a Softlink is to use a specific qualifier. Now we are capable effectively to provide into the field, and we are not the only one, we are capable effectively to put a box, or let's say 2 boxes, transmitting some data, transmitting some electrical signals, and be sure that effectively the link will be capable to support a certain level of data rate. Okay. The additional benefit of this kind of tools now is that they are also capable to investigate if you can, let's say, connect your device to the rest of the network, at which speed, and so on. Okay. So, qualification for the people who are not aware about what it is, in the test and measurement there is 3 main ways of thinking. There is the verification, where you have a basic tester in order to give you the wire map and sometimes the length and the default distance to the fault and so on. You got the certification with the highest technology product where you can find into the market in between 8,000 to 12,000 euros for copper only. And you got in between the qualification stuff, and the qualifier is tools which, let's say, is around 2,000, 4,000 euros, which can help effectively the IT administrator or the network integrator, not the installer who should stay with the certificator, but who can help effectively to analyze if yes or no my link will support a certain data rate. Now, qualifier, it's a new way with the latest data rate to effectively give you a real view of the data rate transmission capability. Qualification effectively on passive will perform the wire map, the lengths, because everybody knows that we have certain lengths on copper to not exceed, all right? And we can effectively make some troubleshooting because you can imagine that a link which has been installed 15 years ago, there is a lot of things happen around, and maybe there is one wire which is not connected yet, maybe there is many other issues that you cannot imagine, but which is your reality. Okay. And now with this kind of tools, you are capable effectively to test and simulate some traffic from 100 megabyte, 1 gigabyte, 2.5 gigabyte, 5 gigabyte, and 10 gigabyte. And this is one of the topics of the NBASE-T Association, is to provide some technical solution in order to support all the main data rate that we are using or you will use tomorrow. Okay. Troubleshooting, effectively, we can make some troubleshooting, pings, network discovery, PoE testing on real time, which voltage do you have, which class of PoE are you supporting, and so on and so on. Now here are effectively the three main tests that we are providing in order to be sure that a link, an old one, will support the newest data rate. The first one is the signals to noise ratio. Effectively, we are giving a look on the space in between the transmission signal and the noise around. Okay. The BERT testing, BERT is effectively a bit error rate testing. So we are sending a certain number of packets, frames, okay, and in the opposite way, we are counting the number we are receiving, and if we are not exceeding the IEEE recommendation, we can say that effectively the link will be working in a proper way. And you got the delay skew. Delay skew here can be critical. Delay skew is something a lot of people are realizing that when you have a copper link, everybody, I hope, know that it's a twisted pair link, okay? But those twists are not equivalent. And you can find pairs who are longer compared to the others. Okay? And now, in order to be sure that the active equipment will synchronize in a proper way, we have a certain time of window to respect. Okay? And this is the measurement of the delay skew. Delay skew will take the time needed for one signal on one pair from moving from point A to B. And if all the signals we are receiving are arriving in these windows of time, it will work. Okay? So those three tests effectively are really critical as a qualifier. Okay? And this is why we are capable effectively, after making the wire map testing, after making the length testing, we are effectively analyzing the delay skew, and we are capable to say, okay, at 99% this link will support today the data rate you need. So now there is a lot of, let's say, things you have to take into account. What is the